Cyber Threat Brief for May 22, 2026. Microsoft patched 2 actively exploited Defender 0 days with CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, deadline June 3. Trend Micro disclosed another Apex 1.0 day under exploitation. Drupal fixed a highly critical SQL injection flaw affecting PostgreSQL sites, with exploit creation expected within days. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. 2026-05-22. Next section, Critical Alerts. Microsoft Defender actively exploited 0 days. CVE 2026-41091, CVE 2026-45498. Microsoft disclosed active exploitation of 2 Defender vulnerabilities. CVE 2026-41091, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 7.8, is a privilege escalation flaw allowing attackers to gain system privileges through improper link resolution. CVSS 4.0 is a denial of service vulnerability. Both vulnerabilities have been added to CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, SCEV, Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog with a June 3, 2026 remediation deadline. Has an EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, score of 0, 121, 94th percentile, and has an EPSS score of 0, 23, 85th percentile. Vulnerabilities overlap with Red Sun and Undefend 0 days disclosed by Chaotic Eclipse last month. And Huntress has observed exploitation of both alongside Blue Hammer. Microsoft also addressed CVSS 8.1, a heap-based buffer overflow enabling remote code execution, though no active exploitation has been observed for this vulnerability, and 5 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: updates automatically deploy via Microsoft Defender anti-malware platform versions 1.1.26040.8 and 4.18.26040.7. Verify updates by opening Windows Security Virus and Threat Protection updates. Check for updates. Confirm anti-malware client version in Settings About. Federal agencies must remediate by June 3, 2026. Sources: The Hacker News. Trend Micro Apex 1.0 day exploitation. CVE 2026-34926. Trend Micro patched CVE 2026-34926. CVSS 6.7, a directory traversal vulnerability in on-premise Apex 1 installations under active exploitation. An authenticated local attacker with admin credentials can modify a key table on the server to inject malicious code for deployment to agents. The vulnerability was discovered by Trend Micro's internal incident response team. CISA added CVE 2026-34926 to the KEV catalog with a June 4, 2026 deadline. Given the access requirements, this exploitation pattern aligns with advanced persistent threat activity, similar to past Apex vulnerabilities exploited by Chinese state-sponsored hackers. Action: apply Apex 1 patches immediately. Review admin credential access to Apex 1 servers and audit recent administrative activity for signs of compromise. Federal agencies must remediate by June 4, 2026. Sources: Security Week, The Hacker News, CISA. Drupal highly critical SQL injection. CVE 2026-9082. Drupal patched CVE 2026-9082. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, CMSS 20/25, a highly critical SQL injection vulnerability in the database query sanitization API. The flaw allows unauthenticated attackers to send specially crafted requests, resulting in arbitrary SQL injection on sites using PostgreSQL databases. Successful exploitation can lead to information disclosure, privilege escalation, and remote code execution. Drupal developers warn that exploits may be created within hours or days of disclosure. Less than 5% of Drupal sites use PostgreSQL and are affected. Patches are available for Drupal 11, 3, 11, 2, 10, 6, and 10, 5. This is the first highly critical Drupal vulnerability in years, and there have been no reports of wild exploitation since Drupalgeddon 2 in 2019. Action: patch immediately if running Drupal with PostgreSQL. Update to Drupal 11, 3, 11, 2, 10, 6, or 10, 5. Latest versions. Also apply updates for upstream Symfony and Twig vulnerabilities included in the release. Monitor for exploit activity given the high likelihood of rapid weaponization. Sources: Security Week. Langflow code execution vulnerability exploited by Muddy Water, CVE 2025-34291. CVE 2025-34291. CVSS 9.4 is an origin validation error in Langflow that allows remote code execution and full system compromise. The vulnerability exploits three weaknesses: overly permissive cores, lack of CSRF protection, and an endpoint allowing code execution by design. Successful exploitation compromises the Langflow instance and exposes all access tokens and API keys, triggering cascading compromise across integrated cloud and SaaS services. Iranian state-sponsored group Muddy Water has exploited this vulnerability for initial access to target networks. CISA added CVE 2025-34291 to the KEV catalog with a June 4, 2026 deadline. EPSS score is 0. 95, 93rd percentile. Action: patch Langflow immediately. Rotate all access tokens and API keys stored in Langflow workspaces. Review logs for unauthorized access or code execution. Federal agencies must remediate by June 4, 2026. Sources: The Hacker News. CISA. CISA adds legacy Microsoft vulnerabilities to KEV. CISA added 4 legacy Microsoft vulnerabilities from 2008 to 2010 to the KEV catalog, all with June 3, 2026 deadlines. CVE 2010-0806, EPSS 0.882, 100th percentile, and EPSS 0.886, 100th percentile are use-after-free vulnerabilities in Internet Explorer enabling remote code execution. EPSS 0.741, 99th percentile, is a null byte overwrite vulnerability in DirectX QuickTime movie parser filter, allowing remote code execution via crafted QuickTime files. EPSS 0.936, 100th percentile, is a buffer overflow in Windows Server Service, allowing remote code execution via crafted RPC requests. Is a heap-based buffer overflow in Adobe Acrobat and Reader. The addition of these legacy CVEs to the KEV catalog suggests active exploitation campaigns targeting unpatched systems, and 4 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: verify that legacy systems are patched or decommissioned. These vulnerabilities affect end-of-life software versions that should not be in production. Federal agencies must remediate by June 3, 2026. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section: ransomware claims, last 48H. 2 claims tracked across 2 groups in the last 48 hours. Group victim sector country XXX Bank of Indonesia, BNI. Co. ID Banking Indonesia Spy Corporate Han Loser Legal Unknown. These are unverified claims from ransomware leak sites, not confirmed breaches. Next section: ransomware and extortion. The Gentleman Ransomware Defense Evasion TTPs, Tactics, Techniques, and Procedures. Huntress analyzed 2 incidents involving the Gentleman ransomware. A RAS operation active since mid-2025, with over 400 claimed victims across 70 countries. The Gentleman operators rely on custom defense evasion tools to disable security solutions and abuse Windows logging. In both incidents, attackers cleared security, system, and application event logs while leaving other Windows logs untouched. Attackers used scheduled tasks and PowerShell for execution and attempted to evade antivirus after initial encryptor deployment was blocked. An insider leak of the Gentleman's internal database in early May revealed the operations administrator builds ransomware lockers and panels, while also engaging in attacks alongside affiliates. The leak exposed tracking of CVEs including Fortinet authentication bypass, CVE 2024-55591, CISA KEV, EPSS 0.941, 100th percentile. Previous reports show the Gentleman actors use legitimate driver abuse, group policy objects for domain-wide attacks, and any desk for persistence. Action: monitor for event log clearing patterns where security, system, and application logs are cleared but other logs remain. Review scheduled tasks and PowerShell execution logs for suspicious activity. Patch CVE 2024-55591 in Fortinet devices. Block unauthorized remote access tools including AnyDesk. This is a RAS operation with varying TTPs across affiliates, so defense requires multi-layered detection across these patterns. Sources: Huntress. First VPN Cybercrime Service dismantled international law enforcement, dismantled First VPN, a cybercrime anonymization service used by at least 25 ransomware groups and involved in nearly every major cybercrime investigation Europol supported. The operation seized 33 servers across 27 countries, disrupted infrastructure supporting 1VPNs, COM, 1VPNs, NET, 1VPNs, org and onion domains, and arrested the alleged Ukrainian administrator. Authorities identified all first VPN users and issued direct notifications. Information on 506 users was shared internationally, and 83 intelligence packages were distributed for ongoing investigations. First VPN advertised as a privacy-focused no-log VPN that ignores law enforcement requests. Investigators infiltrated the VPN infrastructure before takedown and collected the user database identifying VPN connections used in attacks. First VPN has been active since 2014 and provided 32 exit nodes at the time of disruption. Action: review network logs for connections to First VPN exit node IPs, available in FBI Alert. Organizations that detected First VPN usage should investigate those endpoints for compromise. Threat actors using First VPN will migrate to alternative anonymization services, so monitor for new VPN infrastructure appearing in attacks. Sources: Bleeping Computer Security Week Data Breaches. Net. Next section: Business and Infrastructure Threats. Cloud Atlas APT, Advanced Persistent Threat, returns with new tools and SSH tunnels. Kaspersky observed Cloud Atlas APT, active since 2014. Conducting pervasive SSH tunnel activity targeting government organizations and commercial companies in Russia and Belarus throughout 2025 and into 2026. The group uses phishing emails with ZIP archives containing malicious LNK shortcuts that launch PowerShell scripts. Cloud Atlas also exploits CVE 2018-0802, EPSS 0.941, 100th percentile, CIS-AKEV, in Microsoft Office Equation Editor to download and execute malicious code. The group deploys VB Cloud, file stealer targeting DOC, PDF, XLS files, and PowerShower, network reconnaissance and lateral movement backdoor as primary payloads. PowerShower performs Kerberoasting attacks, collects information on processes, administrator groups, and domain controllers, and downloads additional scripts from command and control servers. Cloud Atlas uses UAC bypass via FODHelper exe to execute credential-grabbing scripts that create volume shadow copies and steal SAM and security files disguised as PDFs. The group patches Termsiv DLL to enable multi-user RDP for lateral movement and uses third-party tools including Tor, SSH, and RevSox for persistence and backup control channels. Action: patch CVE 2018-0802 in Office installations. Monitor for LNK files executing PowerShell from external resources. Detect volume shadow copy creation followed by SAM/security file access. Review RDP configurations for Termsiv DLL modifications. Block or monitor Tor, SSH tunnels, and RevSox traffic from workstations. Hunt for VB script files with RC4 decryption and PowerShell scripts performing Kerberoasting. This is a sophisticated APT with multiple backup access methods requiring comprehensive detection coverage. Sources: Securalist. GitHub breached via compromised VS Code extension. GitHub disclosed that attackers stole over 3,800 internal code repositories after an employee installed a malicious VS Code extension. The malicious extension was NX Console, which was compromised in the TAN stack supply chain attack. GitHub is rotating critical secret tokens to prevent further access. Grafana also attributed its recent breach to the same TAN stack incident. The TAN stack supply chain attack deployed self-propagating information-stealing malware on victim computers through compromised NPM and PyPI packages. Microsoft's GitHub was compromised when a Microsoft developer using Microsoft VS Code installed a rogue extension from Microsoft's VS Code extension library, which is moderated and hosted by Microsoft. Action: review VS Code extensions installed across developer workstations. Remove NX Console and any extensions installed or updated during the TAN stack compromise window. Rotate credentials and tokens for any developer who had NX Console installed. Audit internal repositories for unauthorized access. Monitor for data exfiltration from developer endpoints. This supply chain attack demonstrates the risk of trusted extension marketplaces and requires defense in depth, including extension vetting, least privilege for developer tools, and secrets rotation. Sources: Risky Biz Security Week. Cross-platform NPM stealer targets Windows, Mac OS, Linux. Sans ISC analyzed a heavily obfuscated node. JS stealer, SHA-256, a hash indicator. See show notes for details. Targeting Windows including WSL, Mac OS, and Linux. Stealer contains 3 payloads. Browser credential stealer supporting 15 browsers: Chrome, Brave, Edge, Opera, Opera GX, Vivaldi, Kiwi, Yandex, Iridium, Komodo Dragon, SR-Ware Iron, Chromium, AVG browser. Cryptocurrency wallet extension stealer targeting 40+ Chrome wallet extensions. And system information collector. Malicious code uses obfuscation. EO techniques with long arrays of base 64 encoded strings and arithmetic decoder functions. Malicious payloads are embedded in plain text despite the obfuscated wrapper. Action. Scan node. JS projects for the SHA-256 hash indicator. See show notes for details. Review NPM package installations for suspicious obfuscated code patterns. Monitor for browser credential file access from Node. JS processes. Educate developers on supply, chain security, and dependency vetting. This cross-platform stealer demonstrates the risk of compromised NPM packages affecting multiple operating systems. Sources: Sans ISC. Next section, Patch Priority. Microsoft Defender, CVE 2026-41091. Auto updates to versions 1.1.26040.8 and 4.18.26040.7. Verify installation, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Friend Micro Apex 1, CVE 2026-34926 and additional high-severity privilege escalation flaws. Apply latest updates immediately. Drupal PostgreSQL, CVE 2026-9082 highly critical SQL injection. Update to 11.3, 11, 2.10, 6 or 10, 5, X. Exploit expected within days. Langflow, CVE 2025-34291. Patch and rotate all stored credentials. Under active exploitation by Iranian APT. Fortinet, CVE 2024-55591 authentication bypass. Tracked by the gentleman ransomware operators. Patch immediately. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. ABB Industrial Control Systems Vulnerabilities CIS published 3 ICS Industrial Control Systems Advisories for ABB products. ABB B and R Automation Studio versions before 6.5 contain 25 SQLite vulnerabilities, CVE 2025-6965, and others, allowing memory corruption, heap-based buffer overflows, and integer overflows. AB B and RPC, APC 4100, APC 910, C80, MPC 3100, PPC series contain 9 EDK2 network stack vulnerabilities enabling remote code execution, DOS, DNS cache poisoning, and information disclosure. ABB Terra AC Wallbox, Japan, versions 1.8.33 and earlier contain 3 heap and stack-based buffer overflow vulnerabilities that could allow remote control and firmware alteration. ABB recommends updating to the latest versions and disabling unused features like PXE boot and 6 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action. Update ABB B and R Automation Studio to version 6.5. Update ABB B and R PCs to latest firmware versions, APC 4101. 9 C81. 14 MPC 3101. 24 PPC series latest. Update ABB Terra AC Wallbox, JP to version 1.8.36. Disable PXE boot if not needed. Limit network access to ICS devices and block IP6 traffic if not required. Sources: CIS ICS Advisory ICSA 26141.3, CIS ICS Advisory ICSA 26141.2, CIS ICS Advisory ICSA 26141.5. Hitachi Energy GMS 600 Open SSL Timing Attack, CVE 2022-4304. Hitachi Energy disclosed CVE 2022-4304, affecting GMS 600 versions 1.3.0 and 1.3.1. This timing-based side-channel vulnerability in Open SSL RSA decryption could allow Bleikenbacher-style attacks to recover plaintext across a network. An attacker must send a large number of trial decryption messages and record processing times to recover pre-master secrets and decrypt TLS connections. The vulnerability affects all RSA padding modes, PKCS #1v1.5, RSA OEP, RSASF. Hitachi Energy recommends upgrading to GMS 600 version 1.3.2 and implementing firewall configurations with ingress IP allow listing and traffic rate limiting. Action. Update Hitachi Energy GMS 600 to version 1.3.2. Implement network segmentation and rate limiting to prevent mass trial message attacks. Review TLS configurations for affected systems. Sources: CIS ICS Advisory ICSA 26141.1. Microsoft Linux Kernel CVEs. In MSRC Update Guide, Microsoft published advisories for 10 Linux kernel CVEs in the MSRC Security Update Guide, affecting Azure and WSL environments. Notable CVEs include CVE 2024-26944, BTRFS use after free, libsh DOS, x86/kexec instrumentation, MM/page alloc memory management, net/MLX5E XDP multibuff, RT mutex, FBdev UDLF bus afterfree, net/RDS zerocopy, IP6 RPL, net/SCED, netWNT7XX, and net/RDS zerocopy. Most have low EPSS scores, first fifth percentiles, indicating low exploitation probability, and have EPSS scores in the first percentile, and 13 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: apply Linux kernel updates for Azure and WSL environments. Monitor Microsoft security guidance for patch availability. These CVEs primarily affect specialized Linux subsystems and network drivers with low exploitation likelihood, but should be patched as part of routine maintenance. Sources: MSRC CVE 2024-26944, MSRC 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 MSRC, and 23 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. PWN2 Own Berlin 2026. 47 zero-days exploited PWN2 Own Berlin 2026 concluded with researchers earning $1,298,250 after exploiting 47 zero-day vulnerabilities in Windows, Linux, VMware, and NVIDIA products, DevCore 1 with 5 master of PWN points and $505,000 by hacking Microsoft SharePoint, Exchange, Edge, and Windows 11. Star Labs SG earned $242,500, 25 points, and Out of Bounds earned $95,750, 75 points. All discovered vulnerabilities will be disclosed to vendors for patching. This high zero-day count demonstrates continued security weaknesses in enterprise platforms and hypervisors. Action: monitor vendor security advisories for patches addressing PWN2 own discoveries. Expect security updates for Windows, Linux, VMware, and NVIDIA products in coming weeks. Maintain defense in-depth controls while patches are developed. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section, General Security News. Microsoft ends SMS MFA, multi-factor authentication. For personal accounts, Microsoft is phasing out SMS as a multi-factor authentication, an account recovery option for personal Microsoft accounts. All users will be prompted to add a passkey the next time they log in. Microsoft cited SMS as a leading source of fraud and the most targeted vector for account takeover. Passkeys provide phishing resistance and faster login flows compared to SMS MFA, which can be phished using 8M adversary-in-the-middle phishing kits like Medlishka, Murina, and Evil Jinx. Microsoft becomes the first major platform to abandon SMS MFA entirely, though Google, Facebook, and Twitter still allow SMS as a fallback option. Action: prepare user communication for personal Microsoft account passkey enrollment. Enterprise accounts using Azure Active Directory/Entra are not affected by this change. SMS MFA phishing via 8M kits has been commonplace since 2019, and this move aligns with NIST guidance deprecating SMS as a second factor. Sources: Risky Biz. UK NCSC issues agentic AI security guidance. The UK National Cyber Security Centre released guidance for securing agentic AI deployments in enterprise environments. NCSC warns that overprivileged or poorly designed AI agents can escalate a single failure into a serious incident. The guidance emphasizes thinking before deploying AI agents and implementing adequate security controls. Omdia research shows 45% of organizations use standalone AI budgets separate from digital transformation or innovation funds, and 36% of identity leaders tap separate AI budgets to fund identity security for AI agents. Organizations are reallocating funds from other technology budgets, 28%, using digital transformation initiatives, 21%, or reducing existing identity budgets, 15%, to fund AI agent security. Action: review AI agent deployments for overprivileged access and implement least privilege principles. Read NCSC guidance for agentic AI security controls. Budget for identity management, governance, and security layers for AI agents, including visibility, fine-grained access management, and lifecycle management. Sources: The Hacker News Dark Reading. Poland urges officials to switch from Signal to mCipher. The Polish government is urging public officials and national cybersecurity system entities to stop using Signal and instead use mCipher, an encrypted messenger developed by a Polish research organization. The directive cites social engineering attacks by advanced persistent threat groups, including efforts impersonating Signal support to take control of accounts. Multiple governments have warned of rising social engineering attacks targeting messaging platforms. The switch from Signal to a domestic encrypted messenger raises questions about cryptographic implementation and independent security audits. Action. No direct action for U.S. organizations. Monitor for similar social engineering campaigns targeting Signal, WhatsApp, and other encrypted messengers. Educate users on recognizing impersonation attacks and verify support contacts through official channels only. Sources: The Hacker News. Dutch police unmasked 74 fraud suspects via Game Over. Campaign. Dutch police identified 74 of 100 suspected fraudsters through the Game Over initiative, which displayed blurred photos of suspects on billboards, television, and online advertisements, giving criminals 2 weeks to surrender before images were unblurred. 34 suspects voluntarily reported to authorities, while the remaining 40 were identified through public tips. Suspects range in age from 14 to 42 years old. The initiative, launched in March 2026, demonstrates innovative public engagement in cybercrime investigations. Action. No direct action required. This demonstrates successful public-private partnership for fraud investigations. Sources: The Hacker News. Trump postpones AI security executive order. President Trump postponed an executive order that would establish a 90-day voluntary testing regime for frontier AI models, citing concerns about harming U.S. AI industry competition with China. The draft order would have empowered NSA to conduct classified evaluations of frontier AI models, and Treasury would have established information sharing between AI companies and critical infrastructure cybersecurity defenders. ONCT, CISA, and NIST would have defined which models are covered. The order would have formalized existing cooperative relationships between AI companies and government agencies. The administration's early rhetoric of no institution of guardrails has created tension with implementing AI security testing. Action. Monitor for revised AI security policy guidance. Maintain voluntary coordination with government agencies for AI model security testing. This policy uncertainty creates challenges for AI security planning in critical infrastructure sectors. Sources: Cyberscoop. U.S.-China cyber espionage acknowledgement. President Trump acknowledged mutual cyber espionage activities between the U.S. and China during bilateral meetings with President Xi Jinping. Trump stated, "We spy like hell on them too," and discussed cyber attacks conducted by both nations. The acknowledgement comes as China has been accused of sweeping intrusions into U.S. networks. Trump did not elaborate on specific attacks carried out against China. Action. No direct action required. This acknowledgement confirms ongoing state-level cyber operations between major powers and reinforces the need for defense-in-depth security architectures. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section, Trends and Context. Today's brief highlights the convergence of actively exploited 0 days in widely deployed security products. Microsoft Defender, Trend Micro Apex 1, with aggressive CIS KEV deadlines, supply chain compromises affecting developer toolchains, VS Code extensions, NPM packages, and legacy infrastructure exploitation. First VPN takedown, revealing widespread ransomware group usage. The addition of decade-old Microsoft vulnerabilities to the KEV catalog signals persistent exploitation of unpatched legacy systems. The Drupal highly critical SQL injection flaw with expected rapid exploit development demonstrates the ongoing challenge of securing open-source infrastructure. These converging threats require coordinated patching, supply chain security hardening, and elimination of legacy unpatched systems. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.